All right, we're diving back into this reading. I'm really excited to pick this one up again. Light still doesn't want to come on, so we're just keeping it real. And it makes sense because last reading we left off with a come to Jesus moment. It's like, Jesus, I asked you to take the wheel and this thing is in a rut. How do I get this thing to move forward? And we learn, as in all things in life, it really comes down to you. It really comes down to you and what you're willing to continue to tolerate. And when are you going to really show people who you are? By standing in your truth and standing in your power and doing what's necessary to move in a direction that's more supportive of you. And it's funny because these next cards that I was going to get into, I set them down on the board, on the Monopoly board, and unbeknownst to me, I put them on Reading Railroad. Price $200. And so this kind of really sent forward a strong motion that this is how to get that chariot moving, right? Because what does railroad do? It gets things moving. It's time to pull out of dysfunction junction, right? And get to your true destination. And it's so funny, Reading Railroad. It's like the railroad of the reading, like how do we get this locomotive in motion? And it's interesting, the cards associated with that came up, because both are associated with movement. We have the 8 of Cups with the 6 of Swords, okay? So 8 of Cups is all about really making the choice that you deserve something more, that where you're at, what you're doing, how things have been played out, this situation that has kind of monopolized your time, your energy, your focus, that it's really not where it's at for you. You actually have higher aspirations for yourself. You're looking for something more meaningful, something more real. You're looking to connect with the purpose, the passion, and others who really align with you in that place of wanting to kind of, elevate their lives. You're tired of being stuck in the gridlock and the BS and the problem and trying to fix things and the confusion and the muddledness. Like, when it's real, when it hits fucking real, it's simple. It's simple. Where there is any level of confusion or vagueness, ambiguity, it's because it's not aligned with your truth. It's not resonating with you, And this, shows you walking away, beginning that fool's journey. It's funny, instead of a dog, though, we got a rabbit here. It's like, I'm going to follow the rabbit. I want some magic in my life. I'm done with this fucking dull ass shit. If I stay here any longer in this rut, it'll be my grave, The only difference between a rut and a grave are its dimensions. And it will. And I don't mean that in an ominous sense, I mean that in a very real sense, in the spiritual sense. Like, it'll be the death of you. It'll be the death of everything that excites you, of everything that inspires you, of everything that is about you fulfilling, the truth of who you are. You can't stay in a situation that doesn't resonate with your truth, because that's to live a lie, right? So it shows you making this choice, and it's an emotional decision. It's not easy to sacrifice something that you invested a lot of time and energy into. and that meant a great deal to you. It's hard to walk away, but it's what opens that railroad, that gets that locomotion going and moves you toward where you're meant to be. And we see here also, this is reflected with the Six of Swords. It's the choice to, I'm moving to calmer waters. I don't want to be in conflict anymore. I don't want trauma anymore. I'm moving away from this. And in some cases, it can even be a physical move. It can be like a trip to go and find yourself, just to go off into the world on your own for a while and just explore and figure things out for yourself as you go, going where, your heart leads you, and opening up to a new adventure, on your terms. It can also mean changing residence. Sometimes a geographical cure helps, If you're in a situation where there's been a lot of parties involved and a lot of drama, sometimes it can make a difference to get actual physical distance, maybe, moving into a place of your own, but either way, there is this choice that is definitely made, and this has already been reflected, that there was an ending, but remember what the ending is for. It's to like carry you into calmer waters. It's to actually bring you closer to something that's more aligned with the truth of who you are and the life you want to live, because your wants and your needs are important too. And I really see you doing that and pouring your energy into your work, into your craft, into building for yourself. But this does have a creative element. Eight of Pentacles is all about, something that's like an inspiration. It's pouring work and energy into something that inspires you. And it's kind of cool because there's that rabbit again, you're still following the rabbit, So think about, if you could build anything for yourself, if you could create anything for yourself in your life, independent of all this, BS and all these people that, disagree with your choices or see things differently than you and can't seem to, get on the same page with you, take all that out. Take all the noise of the peanut gallery out. What would you do just for yourself, independently, if you could create anything you wanted? And start taking tangible action in that direction. You may even take like some kind of class or go through some kind of workshop or just an upgrade in your knowledge base, something that actually supports your craft, supports what you're looking to build for yourself. And I see that this like really brings in a feeling of hope. You feel inspiration in your future again by pouring, your creative energy into something that you can stand on your own. This is also associated with Aquarius energy, okay? So there could be Aquarius involved. And I mean, there is an offer of love here. We see this dove, flying in and wants to give you some love. But, you need to turn your cup up so you can receive it. Right now you're pouring everything out, and isn't this so like a mother energy, water energy, very associated with this card, even though Aquarius is an air sign. And Aquarius has come up a few times, okay? So Aquarius coming into this reading. We got air introducing themselves right now at this stage in the reading. So, remember that as you're nurturing others, as you're taking care of others, as you're supporting others, that, there's support there for you too. Like turn up your cup and receive this love that, wants to come in for you and wants to support you. You can't even see it. You're so focused on making sure everybody else is okay that, you forgot about your own needs. Okay? So typical of a mother, right? And I see this, and, when speaking of mother, it doesn't have to be a mother, in the typical sense. Um, but just, someone who is a giver, a nurturer. What are those qualities of mother and what does mom mean to you? Okay. Um, I think that this is a theme that's actually been coming up in the collective for quite some time. There's a lot of mother stuff coming up. I know that in my readings that I've been doing for months now, probably I would say at least the past 3-4 months, there's been this strong like mother archetype theme coming in and what that means, what mother means. And I think there is a piece here too. There's healing work to be done around the mother as well. And however that applies to you, you'll know how it resonates with you, how it hits. But it could be really looking at what your relationship was like with your mom, and how that's influenced you, or how you saw your mother kind of move through life and the way that's reflected in your views now. And maybe what you're tolerating, that's kind of coming through what you're tolerating, Maybe you're tolerating certain things that you really shouldn't, because that's just what you do and that's what you saw your mom do, and it's sort of like this behavior you adopted, but it doesn't really fit anymore. It's okay to let it go. Another possibility. But either way, I see that, you have spirit on your side too, and you have your place in this circle. And I think there's almost like this feeling of worrying about being left out, worrying about being cut off, worrying about being outcast. These are just different, downloads coming in. I'm just going to let come through whatever wants to come through. But this isn't necessarily, the truth here. Obviously there's a place for you here, and spirit is reminding you of that, you do have a circle of support, and you do have people who love you, and you do have community around you. You are not alone. You do have shelter, You do have shelter in spirit. And maybe you need to connect with, that spiritual side of yourself a bit more. Maybe that's a place that, needs some nurturing, needs you to, feed it a bit. Maybe spirit's hungry for your love and your attention and your appreciation. There's this interesting thing that happens when we neglect to feed spirit. We really begin to feel the deficit in our lives, and we start to feel cut off and disconnected. Because spirit, that essence, however you want to refer to it, even if you want to look at it in a very like scientific aspect of just it's all one energy, right? Protons, neutrons, electrons, that's all of existence. It's just all this energy. And if you're not feeding your energy, if you're not feeding the energy, no energy, no life, right? Everything just withers. And you feel cut off and you feel disconnected because you're denying the very thing that is the nature of existence, okay? So spirit, to feed spirit is important. And in whatever way that, speaks to you. Some people feed spirit, by going to church. That does speak to some people. Some people, feed their spirit by, doing ritual. Some people feed their spirit by being of service, by giving to their community with no expectation in return. And they find that fulfills a really deep part of themselves. Some people connect with spirit through making offerings or making sacrifices of maybe something that is really important to them, but they recognize that it's the right thing to do because it brings what's needed for healing or peace or resolution. Sometimes connecting with spirit means, throwing up your prayers or making love or making art or dancing. There's many ways to honor spirit. And I would say that this is an important piece for you in this process, is to remember to open yourself up to receive, and to receive that spiritual nourishment, that love, that wants to come in for you, and to really affirm for you that you are part of the community and you do matter, and there is support here for you, and there is love here for you, and could be connected to an Aquarius, okay? Beautiful to nurture everyone else, but remember that you deserve to receive nurturing too. And I see something coming in. There's an offer coming in. Knight of Cups energy. This is an emotional offer. This is an offer of love and support. Okay? Could be associated with a water sign. Doesn't have to be. It would be somebody who is, in their feels. They want to offer you something from their heart. But for water sign, that could be Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. And I'm going to throw Aquarius in there, because even though Aquarius is a air sign, it still is called the water bearer. And even the star, it shows that water bearer archetype imagery. And I'm getting nose itching there, so it's a little clairsentience sign I get that I'm on to something. The nose knows. So it may be an Aquarius involved in this, okay? But there's some kind of offer that comes in that takes you from feeling like kind of outcasted and like, well, what about me? I need to have support too. I need love too. I need to feel like I belong too. And kind of getting pulled in, out of that cold, out of that feeling of rejection and isolation, bringing a closing of that energy of feeling, there isn't a place for you, or nobody cares about me, or what I want doesn't matter, whatever's caused suffering, and accepting the changes and accepting that certain things, didn't turn out necessarily the way you wanted, but that there is an opportunity there for you. We have to remember that the death energy is two-part, okay? First, it's a release. Death is a transition. It is a metamorphosis, okay? It's like if you think about the journey of the butterfly, it first begins as a caterpillar, right? And what the caterpillar was has to completely be dismantled and go through a total transformation. Ted's in agreement to that. It has to really just be reduced to goop, But then from that complete dissolving of everything that was, and this includes like the beliefs, the perspectives, ways of seeing things, ways of seeing yourself, experiencing yourself. It brings this beautiful rebirth energy. And, in doing that, it brings you into your power. This is a high priestess energy. By being willing to look inside and peer into the dark and face those things that you're afraid of. Look at the places inside where maybe you didn't take the best actions in the past, you know? Look at the places that you've hidden and see what truths they reveal to you and what they offer to you now to use it as medicine. You know, you've been to hell and back. You've been to hell and back. And that's evident with that 9 of Wands energy that came in, which is where you're standing right now. You're waiting, but you're also kind of like waiting for that other shoe to drop. You're waiting, you know, to have to defend yourself. You're waiting on guard. 9 of Wands is not a cool card. It's being on high alert and feeling like you don't have a safe space, you know, that you're unprotected, and so you always have to stand at the ready for, you know, anything that may come at you. A lot of people call it like the wounded warrior card, you know. It's somebody who's been through a lot of pain, they've had a lot of hardship, you know, and they're prepared. It's like they're almost like anticipating that there's going to be more. And if you anticipate that, you have to understand that it makes you show up in life in a certain way where you're actually projecting that energy onto situations where maybe you're not under attack at all. Maybe nobody wants to come at you at all, you know? What's important is that you stay aligned with what's true for you, what's right for you, and that you move in your own interest without being concerned about what other people believe you should do or think you should do. And that's what brings balance. And yes, it does bring death. It does bring release. It does bring a transition. It does bring a dissolving of everything that you've known. But, you know, a lot of hidden stuff is going to come to light. And if you had had access to that information before, you probably would have moved a lot sooner. You probably would have made a lot different choices, okay? So trust this process and what's unfolding and stay aligned with your power and remember the journey you've been through. You know, you didn't go to hell for nothing. You did it so you could call back those pieces of you. A soul retrieval is like coming in, woo, soul retrieval is coming in really strong here. If you don't know about soul retrieval, I highly recommend you read on it. I got really intense clairsentience happening right now. So this is definitely a hit, okay? Soul retrieval is, it's a type of shamanic healing process of calling back fragmented soul parts that are connected to trauma events. And it really can keep you in a place of gridlock in your life and acting out these like repeat patterns, kind of like a stuck, you know, skip on a record, you know, just going over the same loop again and again and again and again. From a psychological perspective, that could be looked at more as like a fragmented part of the psyche where there was a traumatic event that was so intense, it just kind of like disconnected you from yourself, and a part of your psyche stays attached to this time and space that doesn't exist anymore, but it rules your life. It's like, you know, Carl Jung said, until we make the unconscious conscious, it will rule our life, and we will call it fate. You know, it's that the other shoe's gonna drop syndrome. Like there's something for you to see here. And when you do a soul retrieval process, you heal those neural pathways so you don't keep going over old ground. It's like a rewiring of your system. I'm speaking kind of out here in esoteric now, but that's what I'm about. So definitely look into soul retrieval work if you're not familiar with it. But kind of a good way to know if you might need to do this work is if you went through an experience in your life that was so intense for you that you never quite felt like yourself again after that. Like it always feels like a piece of you is missing. Okay? It's very powerful work. And it's definitely, it mirrors that like Persephone's journey, going into the underworld, going into the subconscious, going to the depths of what's been repressed and like pulling it back up into the light to look at it, to integrate it, to become whole, you know, and emerging into like a new springtime in your life. And spring may be very important for you, you know, moving into this new period of growth and fruition. And it might look quite different than how you thought it would, but you'll be very grateful that everything went exactly as it did, because it really brought you back into your power and into the center of you. And I see you then moving into this beautiful like Queen of Cups energy. Okay, also associated with water signs. Okay, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio. Again, that mother energy. Okay, this is reflected again, but this is you coming into that place, you know, of really being in your element, heart open. There you are, showing up, you know, showing up in your reading, ready to receive, ready to give. You know, look, got that Ace of Cups in your hand. You're like, I claim it. And you overcame the lions of the past, those things that haunted you, hounded you, always felt like they were breathing down your neck. You transcended it. You lay down those fears. You know, by moving forward, you lay down those fears. You say, I'm not going to stay trapped in the fear anymore. I'm not going to stay stuck in this anxious space anymore. The past is the past. And I can't worry about the future. What can I do right now to get moving? To accept this Ace of Cups that wants to come in for me. To get moving away from looking at the past and what didn't turn out the way I thought it should. That brings about a completion with the world there. And leads to truth coming forward in the winter. It might be a little hard to swallow, okay? Three of Swords. All right? I mean, this is taking an L. It is a loss. It's not easy, okay? But in the spring, it brings a new beginning. Something tangible. Let's see what it brings. Let's look at the top of the deck. It brings your King of Cups. Okay? Where are you? You came in. So I just want to show you how beautiful you look together. It brings the King and Queen of Cups together. This can be someone new, if this is a romantic matter, okay? This can bring somebody new. Water energy again, but remember, you know, with the cups, it would be somebody that is very much, you know, emotionally available. Like they can meet you emotionally. They're ready to give and receive. It's an equal partnership, whether that's romantic, whether that's creative, whether that's on a project, you know, that is very meaningful and heart connected, purposeful, okay? Whether it's a mother and a father working things out, you know, and coming to a place of resolution with each other. it brings harmony, togetherness, healing, fulfillment. And you know, they got an Ace of Cups, you got an Ace of Cups, and together that makes the Two of Cups. And that's love. I really feel like this is a healing of the heart, you know? It has this, like, there's this healing energy around it. And again, those signs, Cancer, Pisces, Scorpio, somebody could have those signs strongly aspected in their charts. And I'm throwing in Aquarius too, just because Aquarius has shown up really strong in this reading. But that's a beautiful outcome. Just cutting the deck. Ace of Cups. Beautiful. New beginning. There's that new beginning, right? We talked about this. Ace of Cups is also a summer card. So look at how this reading is unfolding. It's pretty wild. I think we'll leave this one off here, and we're going to start moving into the other signs next time round.